determination to rebuild these communities. Now, if you'll excuse me, there is important work to be done. Thank you.
Event, Prime Minister.
So that was the Prime Minister speaking outside Downing Street this morning after that first Cobra meeting. We know now that there will be another Cobra meeting at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. As we stay with these live pictures outside the front, as you can see there, of the Britannia Hotel in Manchester, right in the centre of the city, and as we were watching those pictures a moment ago, you'll have seen that significant level of police activity, a lot of police vehicles moving around the centre, but also other vehicles apparently still able to make their way up and down this main street in Manchester as well, despite the fact that we know that there are still groups of young troublemakers moving around from place to place who have caused quite a lot of damage to the centre of Manchester in recent hours. On the line now, Councillor Mark Ramsbottom from Manchester. He's been at the Civil Contingency Unit at the Town Hall, and he joins me now. Councillor, thank you very much for joining us.
Good evening.
What can you tell us about events in your city tonight?
Well, obviously, events started late afternoon, early evening, where relatively small groups of youth started to gather in city centre Manchester and started targeting shops, smashing windows and looting. Since then, the police have obviously been doing their best to try to deal with the situation and get the city under control.
What emerged specifically from that meeting you've been to?
Working very closely with the police to try to make sure that the city is made safe as quickly as possible, and as are being made, there are extra police officers on the streets in Manchester this evening. That was always anticipated and expected, and obviously the City Council is working very closely with the police to make sure that the city is made safe as quickly as possible.
How much damage is done? We know of the fire that was started at the Miss Selfridge store in Market Street. We spoke to the manager of the Arndale Centre a little earlier, who talked about a couple of incidents in premises there. What's the extent of the damage as far as you know?
Well, I think it's obviously difficult at this stage to know precisely how much damage. What I was able to observe is I did see a number of shop windows smashed in. Tesco stores had their front windows smashed in on one street that I passed. And one or two other stores as well were clearly targeted. But I think until the situation has calmed down, and perhaps by the morning we'll be a little bit clearer as to what exactly has been the extent of the damage. But what's clear to me is that there's a large amount of criminality from very young, relatively small groups of protesters moving around the city centre, and they're just simply targeting shops, smashing windows and grabbing goods and things that they can get hold of randomly as opportunistically as they can.
The fact that they are relatively small groups, and the fact that there are so many police officers out on the streets of the city centre of Manchester, and you've made reference to both of those things, has caused one or two people to contact us as they've been viewing these pictures and say, why can't the police arrest these people?
Well, I think that the time for questions about the police tactics should be after the incidents are over. And I think that my understanding is, and I know the police, particularly in the city centre Manchester, very well. They're very experienced officers who do an excellent job in serving the city centre. And I think that we have to trust their judgment.
Going out, yeah, to go right, yeah.
Situation, deal with incidents.
Come on.
I think my observation is that as soon as officers start to move in to tackle some of these things, people disperse, move away, and
it won't be funny.
Arrest is very difficult in that situation. We do have a very extensive CCTV system in the city centre, one of the most extensive outside Manchester, and no doubt those images will particularly be used to try to identify the perpetrators.